And now, News 4's Weather Extra with Chief Meteorologist David Paul.
Welcome into Weather Extra with meteorologist Ryan Duggar. The snow was falling last night across parts of the Mid-South. A look there at Nashville. We know what that looks like.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely know that after this past January, we got around 5.5, 6 inches.
That's nothing.
That's nothing to us from now that we can say that. But yeah, it really came down. This is bringing memories of to mind of really early to mid-January, where parts of the Mid-South saw this exact thing. Yeah,
we're doing it all over again. Not quite as cold for us, of course, not as snowy here as it was in January, but there are definitely some similarities. We are no stranger to getting the cold air this time of year. Tomorrow night we're going to break records, but we can see lows in the 20s into March. Let's have a look with meteorologist Zach Webster.
Temperatures are turning much colder as we start to dry out over the next few days, and we start to bring the topic of record cold back into the conversation as well, especially as we head into early Friday morning. Even if we adjust that forecast low another couple of degrees warmer, we're still breaking the record low by at least 3 degrees. That record last set back in 2009 when that temperature dropped down to 30 degrees. And again, it looks pretty likely we'll shatter that record low as we get into early Friday morning. Temperatures typically turn warmer as we head into the month of March, but 20s are still not very uncommon throughout, especially the opening half of March. Every single one of these blue boxes where we're taking a look at record lows for the month of March is where we've seen those temperatures drop down into the 20s. And not only are 20s still relatively common throughout the early portions of the month of March, it's happened pretty recently as well. That record low on March 13th of 27 degrees, that was last set back in 2022, and that record low of 29 degrees on March 20th, we reached that one just a couple years ago in 2023.
Let's hope that does not happen. It's amazing the first half of March can really feature some cold air.
Yeah, and you know, it just proves that even though you have these warm-ups like we did see for the start of February, don't count on that continuing because we're already seeing that now.
Yeah, fake spring. All right, we've got a lot of weather graphics to go through. Let me begin with a look at the snow depth this morning across the country, and we did have that snow on the ground this morning, northern parts of Mississippi into Alabama, the Mid-South covered in snow, the Midwest as well. Not real deep up there in the Midwest, but deep enough to allow that cold air to push pretty far to the south and really not moderate too much. Why are we so cold? Well, one of the main reasons is that polar vortex, the flow in the atmosphere. Notice over the Great Lakes, there's a pocket of low pressure and really cold air in the atmosphere that is spreading down to the south, pushing that cold air into the deep south. This is air that originated up there over the Arctic. So as we go through time, we'll see that linger late week, but a bit of a change next week, moderating a little bit. That's a much warmer pattern by Wednesday, Ryan.
Yeah, and it kind of reminds me of that meridional pattern, and that's where you have that straight west to east flow. And so the more it can flatten out like that, that helps us in terms of warmth.
Definitely. But as we go towards March, look at this, that polar vortex reloads, drops southward through Hudson Bay into southeast parts of Canada. That is the 28th of February. That could send some cooler than normal weather back into the Wiregrass as we go towards the beginning of March. Short term, cold overnight, lower 30s, colder tomorrow night, middle 20s. But as we go through next week, watch this. Temperatures moderate, warming up. 70s coming in on Tuesday and 70s on Wednesday. So spring does return to the Wiregrass. Hey, coming up next, this guy and me, we hit the streets of downtown Dothan to get your take on this crazy weather. That's next.
And now, News 4's Weather Extra.
Welcome back to Weather Extra. I love doing Weather Extra, and this is my favorite segment of the week, Weather in Words Wednesday.
It has been so fun to go out and meet new people and also really just have fun editing some good videos together, and we love giving that content to y'all.
Yeah, we were downtown today talking about the cold air. Have a look. Ryan, we made it to downtown Dothan. Are you ready to talk to some people?
Let's do it. Let's go. Whoa, okay. That cold is really settling in. I'm gonna put something warm on first. I've got my layers on. We're gonna go talk to some people. and I can't put my arms down. You were in Mexico last week, and now you're here. How big of a difference is that with this cold coming in?
I wasn't expecting it. You know, we were in Mexico vacationing with the family, having a good time, enjoying the 80-degree weather, and then I didn't realize it till we got to Atlanta and walked off the plane. It was cold, and then I started looking at the forecast here. I'm like, what, 40s this week? Oh, come on. Should have stayed in Mexico.
With the winds picking up, I am still okay in my 7 layers. With the cold and the rain that's been happening, how are you feeling about that?
I don't really like it that much. It's all right.
We're finding more people out here that are braving this cold. What do you think of this cold right now?
I think it's crazy. I think it demonstrates the weather here in the South so well. You know, you can have it in the 70s like we did last week, and we're back down to the 20s. I mean, you can't find weather like this anywhere else.
And what did you think about that snow that we had back in January?
It's crazy. It was a record breaker for sure. Our entire family had a blast. We loved it. Love to see more of it.
Oh, it was a lot of fun. It was my first time seeing snow. It was a lot of fun. I loved it.
I like cold weather sometimes too, but hey, we've had enough cold weather. It's time to be warm, time to enjoy what South Alabama brings, hot and humid.
Just a matter of time before it turns hot and humid again. That was fun. People were braving the cold today. No worries.
Yeah, and with my layers on, you know, David and I were walking down. He was like, I can feel it. It's like, I'm comfortable as ever. Like, it's not getting to me at all.
You had what, 6 layers on, I think?
Yeah, it was like 5 to 6.
5 to
it was
6.
very warm in there.
Definitely. Well, as we go through time, more cold air will move in before we see that warm up next week. Let's check those numbers again for tonight and tomorrow night. Not a record tonight, going for a low of 32, but tomorrow night, that record low 30 and that forecast of 25 will break that record. So some tips, especially for tomorrow night: drain outdoor pipes and hoses. Do that tomorrow to get ready for tomorrow night. Add some heat and cover tender outdoor plants. If you can't do that,
bring those potted plants indoors or into the garage. That helps keep things pretty warm and nice and insulated as well.
Definitely. And speaking of insulation, tomorrow night, drip faucets if your home is not insulated well. If it's poorly insulated, drip. If you have a well-built home, good insulation, probably not an issue tomorrow night.
And that's really important too, because when the water freezes, it actually expands, and so that can easily break pipes. I had a personal experience with that back in Starkville.
Yeah.
Whole apartment building flooded, so you don't want to mess with that.
That might be a segment for Weather Extra at some point. That story that you've told me is something else.
It's wild.
It's a mess. Take care of those outdoor pets for sure. Provide them some shelter or bring them indoors if you can. And of course, take care of the people. Make sure you dress in layers. Dress warmly because it will be very cold out there. And that wind chill Friday morning will likely be in the teens.
Yeah, and this is kind of going back to what we were with January and that snow in place. I know I want those layers, and I'm going to find my gloves and put them on.
This guy in gloves. I'll feel like hitting a buzzer. All right, even that. That's it for tonight. We'll have more Weather Extra tomorrow night right here. Good night.